Hey guys, Mr. Cutrera here. Today we're going to be learning how to draw basic 3D shapes and how to shade them to make it look even more 3D. Here we go! So, before we start, let me just go over real quick what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be doing our 3D shapes, but it's important to know grayscale. So that's the different levels of shading or value. So I encourage you guys to make a rectangle, divide it into 6 lines, 7 sections, and you start off very lightly, as light as you can, with a normal pencil. We're using a 2HB, that's just a normal pencil. If you guys have art pencils, we can do a more in-depth video later on how to use those. But you can go really light, press a little harder and harder. And then when you get to the very end, you're gonna go pressing as hard as you can without breaking the paper or ripping it, and going back and forth to get this really dark gray. So when you guys do a 3-dimensional shape, that is also known as 3D, right? 3-dimensional. Let's just say we draw a circle, okay? We're gonna use all these different types of value or shading to make this look 3D. First, we'll do a little circle there. That's called the highlight. Next, we'll do a lighter area. That's called midtone. Then we'll do a darker shading area. That's the core shadow. Then there's a little area of reflection at the bottom of a sphere and other shapes. That is called the reflective highlight. That's where like the table is reflecting light. So let's say the light source is coming here, right? It's hitting the highlight, but it's also hitting the table and coming back and hitting this reflective highlight. There's a cast shadow, okay? So that's the basic thing that you guys are gonna know. So you guys can pause that to understand and do a practice, especially if the grayscale is really good, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do 5 shapes. So with your paper, we're gonna make kind of medium size. Our first shape is gonna be a triangle, but we're gonna convert it into a pyramid. So you just do a normal triangle and then you do a diagonal angle. So we're gonna draw an angle off of it about right there and connect it. Now we have our pyramid, and I actually should have drawn it a little bit farther to get the cast shadow, but that's fine. So we're gonna use the side of our pencil to shade. So the first area, our light source is going to be coming from the right. So sometimes I can even hold the pencil a little sideways, a little weird, to really get that flat edge. Depends on your surface as well. We're not trying to make anything perfect, we're just practicing. So I say I hold it sideways to shade it. That's pretty cool. Now we're going to do the same thing. I'm gonna hold it a little weird and shade it a little darker, this area here. Now if you want, you can kind of shade the outline a little bit so you don't mess up, and then you can hold it on the side angle. So you want to get it flush to make that darker side. Then there's this thing called the cast shadow, remember. And look, oops, we did it too far, but that's okay, we're just practicing. So it's gonna come over here, and it would go way over here in a corner. So we'll just make this area darker. So we'll press really hard that really dark high level on the grayscale to make it look even more pronounced. So it's gonna go off and make a perfect corner. Okay, so that's fine. And notice how I didn't outline it that hard because this is the same color or shade as the outline, okay? All right, our next one we're gonna do is a cube. So let's go a little bit more in the middle this time. I'm gonna draw a square. Okay. Notice I'm using my wrist straight and I'm kind of moving my whole arm, moving it around. Now we're gonna do the same thing. Remember the 45-degree angle. This is where a lot of people mess up. Look, 45 degrees. Some people, they go that way or that way. So we're gonna keep that 45-degree angle. If you have a ruler, sometimes that can help, but it's also good to practice freehand. And then watch this, we have a vertical. We're gonna make another exact vertical. Don't go in or out, go exactly vertical. We're gonna bring it out right there, and this is gonna be a parallel line to this line. The same thing repeats, a parallel line to the horizontal line up here. Okay, and that's how you make a perfect cube. Now, our highlight is coming this way. So the darkest side is gonna be over here. I'm gonna trace the outline a little bit so we don't mess up. And this time, I feel confident just holding it normal instead of holding it all weird. There, that's a dark side. We can always make it darker, but it's harder to make it lighter. So that's why I always try to do lighter first, so we don't have to erase if we wanted to make it lighter. Okay. So we're gonna shade up and down. You can shade any angle, but remember, pick. You can also go this way too. Just be careful not to do too many angles, or else it's gonna look bad. So you try to color in or shade in one or two angles. When you start going, you could do all diagonal, but then if you do too many, it's gonna look bad. Okay, so also actually this top one we're gonna do really light, but I actually like it like this. So see, we're going on the same right angle, or the 45-degree angle. So it's the same line and it kind of looks all the same. So it's a little lighter up at the top, a little darker, and let's push it a little more to make it look more pronounced. Right there. And now the cast shadow is gonna have this line, and then like this line is coming out, and then it goes like that. So it kind of goes bam, bam, like that. And this is kind of erase because there's no line there. And now we're going to shade it. And let's make it really dark at the very bottom to make it look. And then watch this, we're gonna fade the shadow. So it's really dark, and then it gets lighter as it goes out, and it's supposed to like kind of fade away almost. And whenever you guys are using your shading or whatever you're doing, when you push values, so you make really dark areas, really light areas, that always makes it more realistic and more three-dimensional. All right, our next one we're gonna do is a cylinder. So what we do here is we're gonna do this thing called an ellipse. It's like a circle, but almost like an oval. Okay, an ellipse. Then we're gonna go 2 parallel lines straight down. See, I'm using my wrist there and it got kind of crooked. Now look, this half, our ellipse, we're gonna use in the bottom. So we're doing like a half circle. We're mimicking from here to here, just this half. So it curves down. Let's shade it in. So we're gonna do the top part, our lighter shade. So like our level 1 or 2 or 3 on our grayscale. And when you practice grayscale, you know how to do it, right? So if you just try to do it without grayscale, you're not gonna know your different levels you can achieve. All right, now we're gonna make a line right here. This is gonna be our dark area. So we're gonna color up and down because look, these lines go up and down, so it just looks better when you follow the same line. And if we want, we can kind of outline it a little bit on the bottom. But all right, we're gonna make this area the darkest. And then there's gonna be a little reflective highlight area in this back. So watch this, we're gonna make another line back here, but we're gonna leave this area white. Now we're gonna shade it in over here, make it a little lighter, starting here light to get to darker in the middle. So kind of light, and see how it kind of looks all the same. So now I'm gonna push it darker in the middle, keep pushing it. So we wanna have a little gradient of different color. And now we're gonna fade it the other way, lighter, and let's keep a little reflective highlight on the other side as well. Okay. So there's kind of a little bit of light over there, and it also is curving around, so there might be light over here that it's kind of catching. And it might have a little less. Let's do a little less. Over here we'll have more reflective highlight. So brighter white and a little darker. But in this middle area, we're gonna push it. And notice, guys, I'm doing more layers. Let's keep going, okay? You wanna build your pencil up. It's gonna take a while to do. Now, we're gonna make a line of our shadow coming here, off the sides, and it has like a circle shape like that. And let's push again the bottom really dark. That's where the shadow is at the bottom, where it meets the table. If you don't have this cast shadow, it's gonna look like it's floating in the air. We don't want that. So I'm gonna try to fade it, clean that up. Let's make it a little darker down here. So technically in the middle of the shadow and the bottom is gonna be the darkest. So I made it a little too dark there, so let's push it a little bit more. Next one, we got 2 more. We're gonna do a cone. So what we're gonna do is a triangle, almost a triangle. And now we're gonna do, look, this ellipse, it's a half circle ellipse on the bottom. We can do another video about shapes that are translucent or see-through. That's a whole nother thing. But most shapes that you see in real life are not see-through. So this is more practical. I'm gonna draw a line of where we're gonna shade it. So this line right here, that's where I want the darkest shadow. So again, our light source is here. So I'm gonna start to shade pretty dark in the middle. Start to fade it out. Lighter and lighter, and I'm gonna do a little reflective highlight again. And then do the same thing on the other side. Make it, look, it goes skinny and then it gets bigger. So the shadow's gonna get a little wider on the bottom. That's the basic shape of a cone. See, I messed up a little, we can clean that up. And so we have highlight is here, it's pure white. We have mid-tone right here where it's very light, very lightly pressured, and then we have a little getting darker to our core shadow in the middle. Let's keep pushing it. See, it pushes really dark and then it just jumps to light. So let's try to blend it a little bit better. You can use your finger or a blending tool, but look, I'm not even using that. I'm just using my pencil the whole time. You can use your pencil to blend. If you use your finger, sometimes it starts to fade too much and you gotta go back over it, okay? And I'm starting to get smudges, but we will be fine. And our last one, everyone thinks is the easiest one. It is a sphere. So I'm gonna make a circle like this, going around using my wrist straight. And the sphere is actually one of the hardest ones, I think. And everyone likes to do the sphere first, but sphere is actually one of the hardest ones because these are just straight lines and you color in sections. These are the easiest. These are middle hard, I think, and then this one's the hardest. So we do a circle. Then we're gonna find out our highlight. Remember, we have our light source, so our lamp or sun is coming here. So at this area here, we're gonna draw a little highlight. So like a little oval circle. And then we're gonna start to very lightly. And this is where I'll do in a more advanced video later on. See, this is, I'm trying to press really light, but my pencil is a HB. So if we had an H pencil, an art pencil that's called H, that would be really good here. But I'm using kind of a medium, just a normal pencil, but it's kind of hard where it's making a darker color, and that's fine. I like to go in a circle, because look, if you follow the shape, it's gonna look more realistic. There's other ways to do it, but I really like to do it that way. Now let's start to get a little darker. So I'm gonna go around in a circle. Look, we're following the contour of our circle. You can move your paper a little bit if you need to. Now remember, the sphere, it's gonna have, let's draw a little darker line so you guys can see. You can do this too. So I try to not draw all the way around though, because it's very light right here. Or it's very like, the highlight is really light, so we don't want to make it too dark. So I'm making, remember at the bottom, reflective highlight. So we're gonna try not to color it in yet. So this area right about here, let me make a line. See this line there? That's basically our line of our darkest area on our sphere. So let's go ahead and start coloring or shading that in with our pencil. And let's start to layer it up, get it, press harder, add more graphite, which is pencil. And now let's start to blend it in with the medium, midtones. See, it's starting to take shape more. So we kind of keep, this is how you paint as well, guys. You mix colors and you kind of go in between and mix them. So, starting to form better. But let's push it even harder. Let's go as hard as we can in this middle area. This is gonna make it look really 3D. So I'm gonna push it almost as hard as I think I can before it will mess up our paper. And I also have drawing paper, guys. I'm gonna put a link in the description of some of the basic art supplies we use. These pencils, I'm gonna put a link for higher quality drawing pencils, but you can use, I'm just using a normal 2HB pencil, number 2 pencil, number 2 pencil HB, just a normal pencil that you can find. but drawing paper really makes a difference. If this was normal paper, it wouldn't have looked as nice. So I'm gonna keep blending that in. Now look, it's gonna get a little darker up at this top area. Right there. Because our highlight is in the middle, okay? And look, my hands, they always get dirty. See, I was using my hand here, and so next time I probably should have used another piece of paper like this to help it. But this is more of a practice. If this was like a nice drawing that we want to frame or something, then I would definitely use another piece like this so I don't mess it up. And now let's do our cast shadow. Oh no, and I just realized, let's go back to our cone. I got completely ahead. We forgot to do our cone shadow. And look, this is the same exact shadow as our pyramid. And it goes straight there. So it could go like this. You guys see that? Like a little triangle, but I'm gonna make mine go farther. So it's kind of like a 45-degree angle. And remember, I like to push it really hard at the bottom. And the shadow doesn't quite go here because it's kind of a weird shape. So if the highlight's there, it's not gonna show it here because the way our shadow was, it goes here or here, right? So that's the way it goes. Let's blend that in more. Okay, that looks solid. Now let's do the cast shadow real quick for the sphere. So we're gonna do an ellipse. So it's not a circle. A circle is the sphere, but when you look at the angle, an ellipse is like the oval shape. It's gonna be like that. And now let's color in, remember we're gonna color in the very bottom area really dark. And if you're really good, watch this. There's actually, inside of a shadow, sometimes there's shadows of shadows, like basically darker. So down here, we're gonna make it really dark shadow, and then on the outside shadow, we're gonna start to fade it to be a medium shadow on the outside. Try to look at shadows. If you have an object in front of you, it's actually really good. Like let's say you have a cube or a soda can for the cylinder. That's really good to see the shadows yourself and practice that. All right, guys, that is it. So we did 5 different shapes. These are the basic shapes. There's another one you could do called a rectangular prism. So it is the cube, except it goes a little farther, and we do the same exact thing. So you do a rectangle, you do your right angles, same lines, and you do the same thing for the cube, okay? So this is gonna really help us for our next project. We're gonna do another video soon about how to make a simple project with random 3D shapes. So stay tuned for that one. Make sure you guys like and subscribe and hit the bell notification so you guys can see when the next one comes out. I will see you guys next time. Peace out.